But I must be going.
Why?
Because I'm following a white rabbit.
Hey everybody, it's Michelle from Relationships Through the Looking Glass. This is day 26. I guess I really don't need to be saying what day it is every time I record, right? But for tracking purposes, I think it's important. Anyway, it's day 26. This is a recap day. So we know Alice and the rabbit are taking a break, getting some rest, getting ready for that last walk home, right? She's going to be home in the next 3 days. And oh boy, what fun stuff's going to happen. But today is a recap day. So we're recapping the Return of the Sorcerer. We're recapping the waterfall. And we're recapping the cape. Or if you want to go the other way and sequence the cape, the waterfall, and the Return of the Sorcerer. So what was interesting about the cape episode was the fact that she chose not to put back on her armor, but put her cape back on. And that was done with intent to show it's okay to be vulnerable, right? Having armor on all the time kind of makes it difficult when you're trying to meet new people, build connections, build relationships, because you're always behind a barrier. And that barrier makes it difficult for people to get to know you and for you to allow an exchange of energy, right? But she chose to put her cape back on. And that signifies her remembering who she was. Now, for people who haven't guessed who she is yet, it will make more sense once we get to that chapter. But the significance of her leaving the armor but putting back on her cape has a lot of significance where healing is concerned. So once we get to the episode of her revealing who she is to the rabbit, which will happen within the next few days, that part's going to make a lot more sense. Now, when we went to the waterfall, it was a time of accountability, right? Kind of answering for her behaviors, answering for her choices, and taking full responsibility for what those were. And while the wolf has played the villain for this series, not so much the villain, but, a catalyst of why Alice is in the situation she's in, she sat and took responsibility for where her decisions and her choices placed her where she's at as well. And that's one thing that we always have to be mindful of. If we blame other people for our circumstances all the time, we're never going to learn to not repeat it, right? We have to take responsibility for, even if, you might feel led or, like somebody kind of presented with a false narrative and you, with the information you had made those decisions, but it turned out to be incorrect. You still had a part in those decisions, right? So being accountable for that, that's really important. And a lot of times people just don't do that. A lot of times people stay in victim mode and blame all of their circumstances on somebody else. And when you do that, you're choosing victimization. You're choosing to give your power away to somebody else and say, well, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. Or if you didn't say that, that wouldn't have happened. So what you're doing is giving your power away to somebody else. And that's not going to end well for the most part, right? So the waterfall was kind of a reckoning of a sense where Alice was really face to face with not just her decisions in the short term, but all the way back to her childhood and how some things or situations that happened to her as a child has played a role on who she is as an adult. So that was a really intense episode if you looked at it in the different layers. And, she was even able to identify some behaviors that weren't good at all. So taking accountability and responsibility for your decisions was the key in the waterfall episode. And then we ended with the return of the sorcerer. And in that episode, we not only saw the sorcerer return in a way that was more egotistical, right? He said multiple times, well, this connection, this relationship works for me, without caring that Alice was telling him to leave her alone, right? He said that multiple times. And it also highlighted the fact that just because somebody has been in your life for a very long time does not equate to full access to who you are whenever they want it. And that episode spoke about boundaries, the need for boundaries in healthy relationships, and not even boundaries, the need to walk away from relationships that are not beneficial. What is the point of being in a connection when it's draining, when it's doing more harm than good? What's the point of that? So that was really the whole purpose or foundation for the return of the sorcerer. So it wasn't necessarily saying, hey, you can control somebody's behavior. No. But you can control how you respond to somebody's behavior, right? So retracting access to yourself from people who do not are unable to see the significance of it, or from people who are choosing to utilize access to you for their own benefit, So we saw Alice kind of say, I'm done with that. And the rabbit kind of showing her or telling her, look, just because you've known this person for so long, or just because you've had a history, or just because you've shared this, that, and the other, does not mean they are able to pop in and have access again to you whenever they want to. So those 3 previous episodes, again, it was a mixture of introspection and what things that she could do differently, what things in her life have caused her to make decisions that she's made, but also external situations like the return of the sorcerer, right? And how that made her feel. And then the positive example would be regaining her cape and putting her cape back on and how that made her feel. So there was a lot of layers to the last 3 episodes, but nothing like the 3 that are about to show up. The next 3 episodes, right? We're about to learn who she is, why she kept the secret from Rabbit, and, what's to come. So thank you all for being on this journey with Alice as we are wrapping it up. She's pretty much home, right? So yeah, if you know who she is, that's awesome. I'm curious. As I say, let me know. If you don't know who she is yet, you're going to find out within the next 3 days. So it'll be a nice Halloween present. And I don't care. I like Halloween, and I'm not ashamed of it. So yeah, I'm excited, and thank you so much for being on this journey with this challenge. It has been a challenge, just like the name says, but I'm glad we're coming to the end. So as always, you guys, take care, be well, stay safe, be well, take care. Yeah, you know the 3 things I say: take care, stay safe, and be well. I'll talk to you guys in the next 24.